Archbishop, we have the problem, the challenge of homelessness. It's getting worse, it seems, not getting better. What is the Church's position on homelessness?
I suppose I'd say a couple of things just as an introduction. One is that living with a negative called homelessness is a negative we don't want to live with, because what the Church wants to do is to facilitate people in positive living. In relation to what we're doing, it affects church people very deeply because it affects people, and we're part of the totality of the community and this society. Therefore, we have both a responsibility and a concern. Within the Church of Ireland, the Church and Society Commission has produced some very readable, accessible resources which are suggesting things that people locally in parishes and in their own place can do.
Such as?
Such as addressing one of the things that's at the heart of that, the provision of good food for people to cook for themselves. Because surely part of the totality of what the Church tries to do is to facilitate people with a personal dignity. The other thing is to invite people to be part of an existing community where there might be some laughter, there might be some food, there might be some crack, there might be some enjoyment. So it's a mixture of a number of things like that.
Do you think that there's the political will in both the Republic and in Northern Ireland to tackle this, to fix the problem that's there?
Well, there's certainly a lot of political rhetoric around it. It's not a direct answer to your question, but I'll try and look at it a little bit further. I think there is a recognition that an unhappy society is not a functioning society. The difficulty always is the allocation of decisions and resources towards people who look as if they're not contributing in any way directly to the society. And that's part of what's happened to us. We have been defined again and again as people of economic output. And the problem then is that people who do not have a home are not people of economic output. So I think there is a political concern, but I think all of us would agree there isn't enough political energy. But there are two opportunities at least. A programme for government has been put out for consultation across Northern Ireland. And again, the Church and Society Commission has a submission ready to go in there. Secondly, in the Republic of Ireland, at the end of the month of November, there is a general election. People will find politicians eagerly knocking on their doors. And while the doors are of homes that are inhabited, the important thing is that the people who live in them would engage directly and in a way of advocacy on the part of people who are homeless.
Now, homelessness is high on your agenda as far as the draft programme for government is concerned in Northern Ireland.
Yes, indeed.
Is there a specific message in that for the people who will decide how best to proceed next year?
There are a couple of things. One is to decide to do the best you can for those who do not have with the money that you have. The second thing is to target the places of need to facilitate those who are living there. I think one of the things about Northern Ireland is that places historically where people lived kind of local, domestic, innocent lives are now places where there are many people who are homeless. It's not solely an urban problem, as we might have thought in the past. It's very much a rural problem. And that, I think, is a serious consideration there.
You've looked at the draft programme for government in some detail. What's your overview? What's your impression of what you've read?
My impression is that there is an aspiration to do good. There's an aspiration to do the best with what there is. But it's light on detail and it's not specific in terms of what might be done with what's there.
What more detail would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to see things like targets for the building of houses, more and more what you might call social housing, where people are not actually paying a market rate, but they're actually being facilitated in stability. Most people, I think, want and require stability for themselves, for their children, and for the generation from which they have emerged. They want to do their best to be caring of other people. You need a roof to do that. So I think that is the important thing. The other thing which is very much now a feature of our society is that whole blocks of accommodation are pre-sold from plans to people who are actually external or foreign investors. And that means that the cost of those to live in them is always escalating. And nobody will ever own one of those. So that's another difficulty. I think governments and people making decisions locally need to be much more adventurous and need to stand outside of their own situation of supply and stand with those for whom there's no supply.